Greetings, my scattered brothers and sisters in the Lord. Trust you know the Lord is with you wherever you find yourself scattered today, and that you know that his presence with you is more than enough for whatever you might face today. Well, I'm still thinking about Jesus' appearance to Mary at the tomb and been thinking quite a lot about this. You remember that Mary went back to the tomb or stayed at the tomb after Peter and the beloved disciple left, and that she's looking in and she sees the two angels and they ask her why she's crying, and they address her as woman. Woman, why are you crying? And then Jesus shows up behind her and Jesus addresses her with the same question. Woman, why are you crying? Who are you looking for? And then Jesus calls her by name, and Mary, and she recognizes Jesus immediately. And then Jesus tells her that not to hold on to him, but that he is returning to the Father. And he says, go tell my brothers that I am returning to my Father and their Father, to my God and their God. And so this emphasis on now the disciples are part of this communion of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, that they are children of God now. Now, here's what I have been thinking about. In every gospel, it's the women who get the appearance of the angels and are first to get the news from the angels that Jesus is risen. And then if we go a little bit further, we notice that in the Gospel of Mark, it's reported that Mary Magdalene is the first one to see the risen Jesus. In the Gospel of Matthew, it's the women who are the first ones to see the risen Jesus, including Mary Magdalene. And then here in the Gospel of John, it's specifically Mary Magdalene, the first one that John tells us about that Jesus appears to. And so it looks like that of all the people, that it's the women that Jesus appears to first, and in particular, Mary Magdalene, that she is the one who receives the first appearance of the risen Jesus. And my question is why? Why did Jesus choose to appear to the women first, so that the women are told to go tell the men that Jesus is risen? And even in Luke, where he doesn't tell us about this first appearance to Mary Magdalene, but he does tell us that Jesus appeared, or that the angels reported to the women and told the women to go tell the disciples that Jesus is risen. So why do the women get the news first? And in particular, why does Mary Magdalene get the first appearance of Jesus? Why? Well, that's what I've been thinking about. And I'm wondering if John actually gives us some clues. And so John highlights that the tomb of Jesus is actually in a garden, that Jesus was buried in a tomb in a garden. And in fact, Mary wonders if Jesus is the gardener. And then Jesus, as well as the angels, address Mary as woman. And I can't help but think about another woman in another garden, the first garden. And you'll recall that in the Garden of Eden, back in Genesis 3, there is the woman in the garden, and the serpent shows up and starts deceiving her. Talks to her, deceives her into eating the forbidden fruit. And then what does she do once she's eaten the forbidden fruit? Well, she gives it to the man who is right there with her, but has been silent the whole time. And so you have this narrative of the woman being deceived into eating this fruit that is death dealing. And then she gives that fruit to the man and he eats. And death is brought into the world. Are you seeing the reversal? Here we have Jesus appearing to, speaking to this woman in a garden. Strangely like way back in chapter 3 of Genesis. And instead of Jesus deceiving her, Jesus confronts her with the truth that he is risen. And then Jesus commissions her to go tell the disciples that he is risen. And so we have a flip of script, if you will, to where now the woman has been commissioned to give life-giving news to the men, to the disciples. And I cannot help but wonder if Jesus is appearing first to Mary Magdalene in order to fully reverse the fall and to reverse the narrative. So instead of the narrative being about how the woman was deceived and gave this deadly fruit to the man, now the narrative is about how the woman was restored and commissioned to give this life-giving news to the men that they can be restored and made children of God. Something to think about, that Jesus comes to fully reverse the fall. How deeply does he reverse the fall? So deeply that instead of the woman being deceived and giving deadly fruit to the man, now the woman is the first to know the truth that Jesus is risen, and she is commissioned to give this life-giving word to the men. Now that's a reversal. So wherever you're at today, wherever you find yourself scattered, rejoice in the good news that the fall has been reversed, and so reversed that women have a new narrative, that instead of being the ones through whom deadly fruit is given, now they're the ones through whom life-giving news is passed. God bless and have a great day.